Hello and welcome everyone to the Ocean Steward Spotlight, where we hope to highlight ocean stewards from diverse backgrounds, connecting more ocean lovers with stories that inspire them. My name is Samantha Siegel. I'm the Senior Southeast Organizer for Oceana, based here in Charleston, South Carolina. So today I'm joining you from Cusco ancestral lands, and I would like to take a moment at the start here to acknowledge the past and present stewardship of the Cusco people in the place that I am fortunate enough to call home. And I would love to introduce our guests tonight, Aubra and Erik Denson, founders of Diverse Orlando. Aubra is the Vice President of Diverse Orlando, an affiliate of the National Association of Black Scuba Divers, whose mission is to promote scuba diving, water skills, and environmental awareness into African American communities. Aubra is a U.S. Forest Service Regional and National Chef's Award recipient for her community service, which involved introducing the underserved to snorkeling and diving in national forests. As an ocean advocate and environmental steward, Aubra has had the pleasure of lobbying Congress on behalf of Oceana and the Marine Mammal Protection Act. She's also participated in various projects that encompass her joy of diving with her passion to introduce underprivileged youth to the sport and career opportunities within the dive community. And Erik Denson is currently the electrical chief engineer for the engineering directorate at the Kennedy Space Center. Erik joined NASA in 1990 and is currently working on the Artemis program that will take us to the moon and eventually Mars. He has earned several prestigious awards from NASA, including an Exceptional Services Medal, Equal Opportunity Award, and multiple Group Achievement Awards. He is also the co-founder and president of Diverse Orlando. He is a dive master and member of the NABS Hall of Fame. Erik is a board member and lead instructor for the Diving with a Purpose Maritime Archaeology program, which has documented shipwrecks around the world. So welcome, Erik and Aubra. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Of course. We are going to dive right in. And I'm going to ask you both if you can tell the audience a little bit about yourselves and how you got into conservation work. And we'll start with you, Aubra. Did both of your paths look the same, or were they a little bit different, and how you got there?
Oh no, we definitely have completely different upbringing, different lives. I'm from the South. I'm from Virginia, and I didn't even know how to swim, even though I lived in a beach community, a tourist town, and I used to do all kinds of things in the water. We would go crabbing and we would fish, and I was probably born loving the ocean. I'm an ocean sign, and being a litter bug was a really big thing in a tourist town, so I was very conscientious about the environment very early on.
Great. What about you, Erik?
Yeah, well, I've always loved swimming and loved the water. I grew up in New York on Long Island, and we were very fortunate to have a lot of public pools in our area. Actually, I don't remember not knowing how to swim, unlike Aubra. My mother used to take us to the public schools like Long Island. I remember one in particular, Lakeview Pool, and it used to cost $0.25 to get in. And she would just, during the summer, just leave us there, and we would spend the entire day in the water. And so I always remembered, loving the water and loving to swim. But I didn't really get involved into it until I moved to Florida. And I moved to Florida in 1990 when I came to work for NASA. And a couple of friends of mine, one of my friends in particular, he was already a certified diver and mentioned, hey, you should think about getting certified. And I visited one of the springs here, Blue Springs in Florida, and I didn't know that clear of beautiful water actually existed in life, in real life, and I snorkeled there, and then I eventually learned how to scuba dive. And then I found out about the National Association of Black Scuba Divers, and that actually allowed me to connect with other Black divers in the area of Orlando, and we formed Diverse Orlando in 1993. And so that's how I started getting into scuba diving and NAVs. But we'll talk a little bit more about it. But my love and for conservation in the ocean developed more when I became involved with Diving with a Purpose.
Love that. Thank you. Yes, we will get into that in a little bit. Before we get into that, I wanted to ask you both again, what was your defining moment when you fell in love with the ocean? And again, we'll start with you, Aubra.
Well, I think I always liked the ocean, but I think I had a defining moment when I realized I was going to have to dive. He had just taught me essentially how to swim. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say I had a pool at my own house for years, and I didn't even know how to swim. But once I learned how to swim, he taught me how to snorkel in about 20 minutes. And then I was able to go to Three Sisters in the Crystal River, Florida. And at the time, there were no sanctuaries. So I was able to snorkel with about 500 manatees.
Oh,
there were
my.
so many.
Oh.
Yeah, they were bouncing out of the water. And there was this little baby, and he just kept swimming in and around me. And I mean, I popped out of the water. And he took this picture of me, and it is like joy, elation. And I thought, oh my God, I have to protect them. And I've been trying to feed manatees for years. Now they want to feed them. I've been sneaking cabbage in my bikini top.
Wow, that is a defining moment if I've ever heard one. What about you, Erik?
Yeah. Well, it is funny along that lines too. I remember that day really, and I was very proud of her for jumping in the water, not knowing how to swim. Like she said, I taught her how to snorkel the day before, and she jumped in that water. But again, my first snorkeling experience here over there in Blue Springs, that was the defining moment that I knew I wanted to get certified to become a scuba diver. And so years later, really became more and more involved in the sport, and found that I really loved it. Got into photography and other things like that. But again, my love for ocean conservation and the realm there really got involved when I joined the Diving with a Purpose, the Maritime Archaeology program and Ocean Conservation program. Then I realized, I really became a steward and an advocate for our underwater resources and the environment that we live in. And it's such an important piece of our life, that people don't really realize.
Exactly. Wow. I can't wait to hear about that. Combining two of my loves, the ocean and history. It's just love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you touched on this a little bit, but what led you to found Diverse? And am I saying that correctly? I love the play on divers. I love the name of your organization.
That's exactly right. It is a play of words. The name of the club is Diverse Orlando, but we actually highlighted it such that the first word, divers, is capitalized, and then there's a small e. And basically, we're just saying that we're a diverse group of divers, and that's the whole meaning behind Diverse Orlando. And again, I mentioned too, we started back in 1993 when I became familiar with other Black scuba divers in the area. And, becoming a scuba diver, especially being a minority, you feel as though you may be the only one that's doing that, or only one involved in that sport. So when you find others who are interested in that, that's how we came together. We found other minorities and other people that were involved and wanted to share that experience and get more minorities involved in. And when I mean we were a diverse group, we are a diverse group. We got Black, Hispanic, Asian, white, Cuban, you name it. We are the really a mixing pot for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the great things about
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. So
it's
an open club, open to everyone. But we saw the need to really introduce minorities to scuba diving and the ocean environment and the ocean world. We do a lot of education and outreach. We go to schools and talk about this. And it's really important that they see people like us, that can do something like this. Usually it's just something they see on TV. And to be honest, it's usually maybe a white man or a white female actually doing this. And so for them to see, especially somebody like Aubra and myself, we bring the gear to the schools and let them try it on. And, a lot of them say, oh, we didn't know Black people did things like this. But yeah, well, Black people do everything just like everybody else. And so we just we open their eyes too to a different world. And they see that, hey, well, if they can do it, I'm sure I can. Why can't I do it?
It's hard to aspire to be something that you don't see.
Yep, that's very true. Wow. Well, we are going to get into it a little more with you, Aubra. We're going to put up some photos on the screen in a minute here. And I wanted to ask you what you have learned about advocacy in your journey and how has it evolved?
Sure. So my first several dives, I was ruined because I was in the French Polynesia with manta rays, which is my favorite mammal. I'm my favorite marine animal. I love manta rays. I also love sea otters. I do a lot for the otters too, but I thought, at the time I thought the ocean was 75%, of the earth, and now it's right around 71. But almost all of our water is still there in the ocean, and I want to be there for the ocean, and I hope that the ocean is there for us forever, because there's so many things that we put in it, so many things that we do to it, and it's just a little bit of effort. And I thought I can make this effort. So maybe about 22 years ago, I stopped doing plastic bags. I have a trunk full of reusable bags. I mean, even at Macy's, even at Saks, I bring my own bag. And straws, no straws, people. You can bring it. I mean, it's just no different than a tube of lipstick, So I thought these little things, just little by little, and now they become, habit. And this, I did get the opportunity in this particular picture that you're showing there to work with Erik and the rest of DWP to bring up a very special thing that I'll let Erik talk about. But with Oceana, actually, I've been able to help you all and lobby on Capitol Hill for the Marine Mammal Act to try to prevent different fracking licenses. I think at the time, 26 companies had a license to frack, or 26 companies wanted an additional license. And those sonic booms will definitely affect whales and their sonar, the dolphins, and so forth and so on, right on down the line. And I felt like the important thing that we brought to Capitol Hill was education. We were armed with the facts. We were armed with the percentage of, that's my Florida group. Yeah, that's us. We had a great time. And I was very direct with the congressman and congresswoman that I met, and some senators. I was clear. I was upfront. I was professional and polite, but direct. You are my representative. You are not my parent. Over 80% of your constituents want you to vote this way, but you're voting that way. You have to protect the coast of Florida. You have to protect the coast of the United States. Do what's going to be in the best interest of our oceans and our environment as a whole. It was very, very important to me. And the more I dive, the more sensitive I get about it. I see plastic in there, and I just pick it up and I just stick it in my BC. One time I picked up 40 pounds of trash on one 50-minute dive. I just could not help myself. And I love to do that. I want to do my part. I think that if all of us just did one 50-minute dive to pick up trash, we could get through this trillion piece of plastic in the ocean situation.
Absolutely. And I love, and here's another lobbying picture.
I think I changed his mind.
love
I
it.
did. He actually told me.
I love your passion, and you're absolutely right. They are our representatives. And I wish more people understood that. And I love, and maybe we can bring some folks back to Capitol Hill again, and really, you know, drive that message home, because when they see their constituents come all the way to Capitol Hill, it really makes a difference. You know, not hearing from the same old people, lobbyists, and hearing from their actual constituents. So thank you for what you do. I think we have one more slide.
There are some. Oh, that's a great shot.
That is a great shot.
So
that is. Tell me about it.
Tiger shark. It's a tiger shark. I was actually looking for hammerheads, but the tiger shark just invited herself.
Wow.
I love sharks. There was a time where I used to be so scared, you know, the whole misinterpretation and terrible image that sharks have, you know, oh, they're man eaters. It's so wrong. It's inconceivable that so many of them are killed every day, and they run our marine ecosystem. You know, if there's a shark there on the reef, then that means that the reef is healthy. So you want sharks there. And I want to do what I can to protect them. I thought, yeah, is it scary to see an 11-foot shark right in front of me that's more aggressive? Tiger sharks are a little bit more aggressive. Yeah, it was a little bit, I was a little bit nervous, but I love sharks now. So I thought this was a really great picture to demonstrate how calm I was, and more importantly, how calm the shark was.
Yes. And I love that. Wow. Wow. I cannot say that I would have been as brave as you. I've been around some little baby sharks, but yeah, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. Erik, can you tell us a little bit about Diving with a Purpose and how it got started? Maybe about some of the organization's projects and accomplishments and how people can get involved?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Diving with a Purpose is a maritime archaeology and ocean conservation program. And our motto is restoring our oceans and preserving our heritage. And we're a nonprofit organization dedicated to the conservation and protection of submerged heritage resources. And we provide education, training, certification, and actually field schools in underwater archaeology and ocean conservation. And we have a special concentration, if you will, and that's in the contributions of African Americans into maritime heritage, but also too, in particular, slave shipwrecks. And we have a number of projects that we've been actually involved in looking for and documenting slave shipwrecks. So that's one of our big focuses. We've been in existence since 2005. That was our first field school. But we started back in 2003. A number of us were asked to participate in this documentary called the Guerrero Project. And the Guerrero Project was about a slave ship, Guerrero, which was sunk off the coast of Key Largo area. And there's a big story about that, and it's a really great story. And I would recommend folks to learn more about it through that documentary, or also the book about it written by Gail Swanson. But we participated in that program, and one of the stars of the program was Brenda Lesendorf, who was the chief archaeologist at Biscayne National Park. And one of her responsibilities is to document the historic shipwrecks in Biscayne National Park. But unfortunately, at the time, too, she was the only archaeologist in the park, so she needed help. And so we kind of formed a partnership. Ken Steward is our program director, formed a partnership with her, and we call it Diving with a Purpose. And basically his motto was tired of the same old diving, dive with a purpose. And that's actually started in 2005. So we've been in existence since then, and we've been developing field schools. We have a field school every year. We do one for adults and also youth. We have a youth diving with a purpose program. And so we teach people the basics of underwater archaeology and mapping techniques, and allowing them to document not only the historic shipwrecks in Biscayne National Park and National Marine Sanctuaries that we work with, but also to participate in some of these field missions that we actually do. We've documented over a dozen shipwrecks, including a World War II aircraft. Well, I'll talk a little bit about that. We've worked with various organizations all around the world. And actually, I don't know if you got a chance to see, but in the March edition of National Geographic magazine, our organization is actually on the cover. So we've been doing some fantastic work around the globe, and it is very important work, you know, that I think we do, and that's really changed my life as far as my diving is concerned. I was one of those ones too. I had been diving for over 15 years or so, traveled around the world. But underwater archaeology and like you said before, combining history and the sport that you love and telling a story. I think this was so important and so rewarding. We are telling a story of these sunken heritage resources. And again, about like the slave ships, you know, that's one of the things again that we try to concentrate on and is looking for and documenting and see, because they tell a story. It's not as sexy as the Spanish galleons and the treasure fleets and all that, but it's history, and it's our history that needs to be out there and told and not forgotten. And you know, it presents a strong history too. One of the props that I wanted to bring or show to you is actually an artifact. This is called a brass manila. I don't know if you can see it right there. It kind of looks like
Wow.
a horseshoe.
Let's stop screen sharing so we can see that closer.
Okay.
1 second. All right, let's see. Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So this is actually a brass manila that actually was found on a slave shipwreck here in Florida. And a lot of people don't know what this actually used, what it was used for. And I actually brought this artifact from a little small store in the Tampa area, you know, one of those beachside stores that sells all kind of souvenirs, exactly. But they didn't know really what it was. And so I had to get on my soapbox and tell them what this was. This brass manila was actually used as a form of currency to buy and sell slaves.
A human being.
A human being.
Wow.
And yet there they were selling this, and I think I purchased this for about $11. And just to let you know too, this is one of the things that makes me very passionate about this underwater maritime archaeology, because we have to tell a story. You know, these shipwrecks tell not only a story about the ship itself, but it tells about the people and the culture and the different things that they went through. And so, you know, people have a little bit more respect when they pick things up like this, if they understand its history and where it came from.
Wow. Absolutely. That is powerful. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing.
Well, there's one other project that he's very passionate about, and I got to work on that one. He has another prop.
Yeah. So I was going to keep going about some of the other projects. Like I mentioned, the Guerrero, that was how we started this program, and we're still ongoing looking for the Guerrero, which is that slave ship. We've been involved with various other efforts too. Each year we document shipwrecks again with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We've documented a couple of ships there, steamships from the 1800s. One of them is called the Hannah M. Bell, and that was actually a wreck known as Mike's wreck because the guy who found it, was a local boat captain. His name was Mike, so he named it after himself. So So we actually worked with NOAA and documented that ship, and actually were able to identify it, through the documentation process that we work with. We've been involved with the San Jose, which is another slave ship that was sunk over in South Africa. And actually some of the artifacts from that exhibit are in the National African American Museum of History and Culture in Washington, D.C. And actually we have a little exhibit, Diving with a Purpose, that's there in that museum too as well. And the Smithsonian, it's the Smithsonian Museum that we're talking about. Now, one of the projects that most dear to my heart, and the one Aubra was talking to about, is the Tuskegee Airmen project. And you may or may not know who the Tuskegee Airmen are. They were the first African-American fighter pilots in World War II. And basically, it was a project to show that basically African-Americans were not capable of becoming pilots, but they showed them better, and they became one of the most successful units in World War II.
The most successful.
And I didn't know, well, when I say Tuskegee Airmen, they originally trained in Tuskegee, Alabama, at Tuskegee Airfield there, Tuskegee Institute at the time. But a lot of them went to advanced training in Michigan. And they trained up in the Michigan area. And you say, why Michigan? Because it actually mimicked the European terrain and also the weather and that type of thing. So they did advanced training. Unfortunately, there were some accidents that occurred up there, and some of the Tuskegee Airmen perished in the area. And so we were asked to participate in documentation of one of the Tuskegee Airmen aircraft that crashed in Lake Huron. And it was flown by a Lieutenant Frank Moody. And his plane was actually discovered in April of 2014. And it was 70 years to the day of his accident. 70 years to the exact day. So a year later, we were asked to participate in documenting that plane. And it was one of the most memorable missions that I had been involved in. And one of the pictures that I had sent, but it's not on there, was a picture of the wing where you could see the Army Air Corps insignia on the wing. We saw artifacts from the aircraft, including the wing section, the propeller, the machine guns. They were instrument panel. There you go. That's the picture, instrument panel right there. And this was one of the key artifacts from that wreck. And you're asked why. But if you see in the bottom right-hand corner is the radio call ID. And that is unique to every aircraft. So once they found that, they knew exactly who flew it and when it happened. So that's how we knew it was Lieutenant Moody's aircraft. And subsequently, we were able to bring up some of the artifacts, and Aubra was there, and this was happening in 2021. We brought up five from Michigan.
We worked with Wayne Lasardi, the state maritime archaeologist for Michigan, and Fish and Wildlife. And
also to the National Tuskegee Airmen Museum. They're the ones that sponsored it. Yes. So we participated in that effort.
Well, you did more than that. I mean, in 2015, when he first documented it, then he documented different things about it again. It was last year that we were actually able to go and bring things up. You know, those kinds of things take time to be able to get permission.
And you have to bring it with the state archaeologist.
And
so we were able to bring up some of those artifacts, and those things will be displayed in the National Tuskegee Airmen Museum in Detroit. But one of the biggest things that culminated pulling us all together, back in 2015, we laid a reef down at the site, but we knew we wanted to do more to honor those airmen that fell in that area, that perished in the Michigan area. So Diving with a Purpose, along with the community organization in the Port Huron area, we were able to raise money and erect and dedicate a memorial in Port Huron. And it's a beautiful memorial.
Port Huron is in Michigan.
Port Huron, Michigan. And that's not far from the site where Lieutenant Moody's accident. And so it's a beautiful memorial. We actually had original Tuskegee Airmen to come down there as part of the dedication. And so that was one of my most meaningful projects that I have ever been involved
I
in.
don't know if we were clear that the accident happened in one of the Great Lakes in Lake Huron. His plane
Okay.
crashed in water.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so it was water. And so last year we did about 7 or 8 days of diving to bring up some of the artifacts. Another thing that was there was the engine. And we brought up 4 50 caliber guns, which is one of the props he has.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, yeah, the sea floor was littered with hundreds of bullets. These are 50 caliber bullets.
Wow.
And so some of those live unused ammunition. And again, I want to reiterate that yes, we were involved in this, but it was definitely a project done by the state of Michigan and the chief archaeologist Wayne Lusardi, who's in that picture you're just showing right there. I took that picture
Perfect timing.
right there, and you can see the wing with the military star right there. And people have to remember back then the Air Force did not exist. This was actually the Army Air Corps. And again, we have to give all kudos to Wayne and the state of Michigan, as well as the National Tuskegee Airmen Museum, who actually sponsored to bring up all of those artifacts.
And the council members of Port Huron, the mayor of Port Huron. Specific shout out to Councilwoman Anita Ashford. Without her, we would never have been able to do everything that we did. Right. They were very welcoming, and they were supportive of the efforts, and they understood the story of the Tuskegee Airmen, and they allowed us to be able to tell it to essentially the world.
Yeah. Now to finish this up, I know you asked about how people can get active into it. Actually, there's a picture of a young person who's in the Diving with a Purpose. You can see a little bit of his shirt. It says YWP. That means Youth Diving with a Purpose program.
Oh.
And so we have a youth program for kids, teenagers up to age 21, and then they graduate to become onto the adult version. But then we have a youth program, and our program is open to all certified divers. You just have to have some experience, up to 30 dives, and ocean diving experience. And then we teach you the basics of underwater archaeology. You can find out more about the program just going to divingwithapurpose.org.
And there's a PADI specialty.
And it is a PADI specialty, which is the scuba certification agency that we work with. And you see there's youth actually doing measurements of the different artifacts too.
Triangulation.
There's trilateration and other in-situ drawings. So we teach those methods as part of our field school in our program.
Wow. That's so amazing. And typically, you think of ocean conservation, you think of the fish and the marine mammals, but you don't think about the historical and cultural part of it. And that is just amazing. Thank you both so much for what you do. We could spend all day talking to you, but we are running out of time. So we just put up a slide on the screen with your website and Facebook page. And if folks want to connect with Aubra and Erik, please do. Any parting words for the audience?
No, I just want them to think of one thing that they can commit to doing and do it. Anything that's going to be helpful to the ocean, helpful to the environment, even just one small change, please do it. Thank you.
That's absolutely. Yeah, and you don't have to be a diver to do all of these things too. Just be a vocal person, a champion for the ocean and the conservation, because we can't live without it. People don't realize that. If the ocean goes away, we go away.
You're exactly right. And I just want to remind everyone again, you can reach out. It's divingwithapurpose.com. We didn't have that one on the screen. Is that correct?
.org.
Oh, I'm sorry. Divingwithapurpose.org and diverseorlando.org. And please do connect with these wonderful people. Thank you all so much. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your evening.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.